Step 2 of the dialer setup is to set up Infusionsoft. In order to set up Infusionsoft, we're going to need to do these 4 key items. First, we're going to need to create a tag for each call outcome that we identified in step 1. Next, we're going to need to create a saved search for our contact call list inside Infusionsoft. Third, we're going to need to create a custom field for tracking call count. Lastly, we'll need to set up our follow-up rules inside of the Infusionsoft campaign builder. The first step is to create the outcome tags that we need to use inside of the dialer. Once I have created all of my outcome tags, the next step is going to be to create the saved search using these tags. Navigate to the CRM contacts page and use the search criteria to create your saved search that will be used with the dialer. FixYourFunnel loads the saved search exactly as Infusionsoft has it. Use all of the search criteria options to create the list and identify exactly who you want to be calling. Most commonly, Infusionsoft users use tags to identify who they need to be calling. Once I have completed my search criteria of who needs to be on my list, the next step is to use the Tag To section to add all of the outcome tags that will be hiding contacts from the list in between phone calls. Once I've added my outcome tags, now I want to explain exactly what's going on here. What I'm looking to identify is all of the contacts that have my lead sample survey tag. But I don't want to pull any leads that have these tags. These tags exclude contacts from my saved search. So as I'm making phone calls on the dialer and applying these outcome tags, it will hide the person from the list. In the last step of this Infusionsoft setup portion, we will be setting up the rules that will determine when these tags are removed, and the contacts with the lead sample survey tag will show back up on my saved search. Once I've completely established my criteria, I can click Search. Save this search and share it with every single individual user that will have access with the dialer. It's important to keep in mind that if you're using the default everyone, this assigns an ID of 0 on Infusionsoft's API. We need to share it individually with each user that is going to have access to the dialer. Once I have selected the users that I wish to share this list with, I can click Save. The next step is to navigate to the admin settings page and go to the custom fields. And it will now set up a call count tracking custom field. This call field will allow us to track the number of interactions between calls using our counter bot. This will be set up inside the 4th step of this Infusionsoft setup portion when we set up the follow-up rules in the campaign builder. Name your field and select whole number from the field type dropdown. Once you have set up your field, click Save this field. The last step is to set up the follow-up rules for each individual outcome so that I can determine exactly what happens when an agent selects that outcome. Here I have set up some goals that are connected to different set of sequences. These first set of sequences are using a decision diamond to determine where the contact needs to go. This decision diamond is using the call count custom field that we set up in the previous step. Based on the number of calls that have happened with this contact, they'll be added to a different follow-up sequence, giving us more power and flexibility to customize the follow-up with that individual contact. I'm now going to dive into the first sequence that's going to show you how to set up the funnel bot to track the number of calls and show you how to add the contact back onto the call list after 3 days. Inside my sequence, I have an HTTP post action followed by a delay timer of 1 day and then a remove tag action. Inside my HTTP post action, I'm using the counterbot to track the number of calls that I've made to an individual contact. In this example, I'm using a trigger value of 12, which tells me that after the 13th call, I'm going to apply this tag ID. The delay timer tells me how much time this contact will be off the list based on my search criteria before I remove the tag and put them back on. If you recall, in the step when we set up our saved search, we used our individual call outcome tags to hide contacts while that tag is applied on the contact record. The remove tag action in this step allows me to put that contact back on the saved search to call again by removing the tag that hid them from the list. Inside my decision diamond, I'm going to use the call count custom field to identify where the contact should be placed in these individual sequences. When I first call, the first 3 calls will be in the call daily. After that, I will call back every 3 days for 3 more calls, and then call back every 10 days for 3 more additional calls. I can use that same logic in these other sets of sequences to determine exactly where the contact needs to go based on the follow-up. Keep in mind you do not have to use this particular setup every single time. This simply allows you to customize the follow-up if that is your desired goal. You can use a more simple follow-up process, such as this scheduled callback reminder. In this example, we'll take a look at scheduling a specific callback using the dialer. In this case, we only have one sequence with one goal. Inside of our callback sequence, we're going to use a counterbot to track the latest call that we just completed. And then using the date time field that we selected inside of the dialer setup, which we will cover in the next portion of the FixYourFunnel setup, I use this field timer to identify the date and time of my appointment that I scheduled. The next step is a notification to my sales agent at the time of the appointment. Lastly, I am removing the tag that hid them from the list and putting them back onto the saved search at the time of the appointment so that I can call that person. Lastly, in the case that someone is not interested and wants to be removed from your list, I can use this permanent removal sequence to remove them from the list and perhaps even add them to a long-term nurture sequence. In our next video, we're going to cover exactly what to do to connect everything that we've set up inside of Infusionsoft to FixYourFunnel so that I can begin calling using FixYourFunnel Dialer.